Shots in the Dark contains graphic depictions of events that may not be suitable for all listeners. We encourage all of our listeners to be open-minded and engage in dialogue with us through any of our social media accounts or email. Welcome to Shots in the Dark. I'm Ty.
I'm Whitney.
And we're going to take our shots now.
Yeah, so cheers with whatever you have in your hand that's not
Cheers.
water. Fun story. It's not super fun because, murder is involved in it, but I'm really excited about the content because it's real silly, and it might have a paranormal tie to the Congress. It was a bit hard to find actual information on this. It happened in 1912, and a lot of information is between 1908 and 1925. It's one of those things that it was heavily reported on, but it started slipping from back pages.
Well, I'm really jazzed about it, too, because it sounds like it's something I definitely haven't heard about.
Right, and also, if you actually do look it up, I would strongly suggest using different terms. What comes up when you search what I want to talk about is... So when Kate McKinnon did the It thing, but it was Kelly...
Yes. Kellyanne Conway?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
So that comes up... It's like one article about this, and then a bunch of those... And then after you get through all of those, it goes into weird territory. So you have to actually refinagle how you can find it.
I love that you have the most interesting Google searches when you look for your murders. like lesbian vampire killer. There were 3 of them.
Yeah, which how? How did that happen 3 times?
And then you search for this fucking killer, and it's like Kate McKinnon. You've got the funnest murders.
I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad seeing Kate McKinnon's beautiful little face. Because she used to be my favorite on the Big Gay Sketch Show.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Wow, that was such a fun show.
It was so much fun. So this is a story about Conway the Killer Clown.
Oh my god. Yes!
Yes. I was really, I told you, I was like really excited because I thought you'd think some of it is kind of fun.
I understand the Google search.
In 1908, Frances Thompson was strangled and robbed in Chicago.
Oh.
Local crime, what's up?
Oh my god, yeah.
This is something that has passed so far into lore. There's a lot of weird...
Clowns in Chicago. The whole local thing, really cool. What is it with this fucking area and clowns?
In 1908, Frances Thompson was strangled and robbed in her home off of South Michigan in Chicago. After Lumen Man was tried and found not guilty, her father had actually received a letter. It was completely anonymous. It basically said to find the real killer, you'd have to go up to Riverview, which was an amusement park at the time in the north side, and find a one-legged clown. It only gets better. There's like levels.
Oh my god. I love that this is now a treasure hunt killing.
It's so good. But the sad part about it is that no one really looked into that lead, and someone fitting the same description eventually got pinched for murder.
That's so fucking stupid.
That may have been obviously prevented if he were found guilty.
That's a pretty specific type of situation.
And there was one of specifically at the amusement park. And that same person is who I'm going to talk about now. So they're not 100% sure if he actually had killed Frances, but it fits his MO. The lead was never followed, so a lot of people that do know about this think that if it were followed, then the second murder wouldn't have happened, or the one that's publicized for this particular man would never have happened. So in 1912, Sophie Singer and her fiancé, Will Worthen, were planning on eloping, and she wrote a letter to a really good friend of hers who was currently living in Chicago. They apparently had met in a boarding house well prior that they both had stayed at.
Oh, cool.
And then kept in contact for a long period of time. And the woman whose name was one of her names,
oh my God.
Miss Conway, otherwise known as Miss Louisa Kramer, otherwise known as possibly also Beatrice. There's one newspaper article that says that the man in question's wife was named Beatrice, but most of the time she goes by Mary.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Beatrice is such an old-timey name.
She was going by Louisa. I'm not sure if it was something that, like, was her actual name or if it was her name when she met Sophie, who was the wife of Charles N. Kramer, otherwise known as Charles Kramer, otherwise known as Charles Conway, otherwise known as Charlie Conway. There's so many different things for him as well.
I mean, to just, like, wake up in the morning and... I feel kind of like a Maya today.
Her friend Mary, we'll refer to her as Mary because that's normally what she's referred to, had convinced her and her fiancé to come to Chicago on their way to eloping. So she eventually had met them at the train station when they arrived and convinced them all, instead of to get a hotel, to come and live with her in her flat. Your friend is trying to help you out. You've known your friend for a while. You guys always keep in contact.
I mean, fuck yeah.
Yeah, why not? Saves you a couple bucks. We're cool. Sophie was an heiress.
Oh, Sophie was the heiress. Okay.
It's weird too because Mary and...
because I was going to say, like, if an heiress asked me to come live with them in their flat...
Oh yeah, you'd be like, alright, I'm in.
I'd be like, okay, thanks. Where can I put my little dog?
And I'd be like, I don't have any animals, but guess what I'm going to do?
I feel, and, like, I don't want to jump the gun here, like the good old murder gun, but her being an heiress, I feel like that might have something to do with the motivation.
You might think.
Behind a murder?
Yeah, I mean, you might think. They all move into this flat together. Mary had been working with her husband in circus performing. She actually dubbed herself the Queen of Burlesque, which...
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, as far as I am concerned, I don't feel like you get to give yourself a nickname. The thing is...
Queens are all...
She had actually come from a background of opera. She had actually got quite a large sum of money doing opera with this troupe.
I'd rather be like the princess of burlesque.
I'm glad that you said princess.
Oh, really?
Because the troupe that she was with when she did opera was called the Beggar Princesses.
Oh, fun!
Mm-hmm. She had actually met Conway at that time, and he had an inheritance as well. But somewhere along the line, they squandered it and became circus performers.
Okay, yeah, this story's taking a lot of turns.
She had met Conway while both of them were working for a carnival, and apparently they used to travel around. So as she was the Queen of Burlesque, she also made a lot of her living from being a lion tamer.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
So you're into it, right? Because I was like, oh, she was really cool.
Oh my god.
And he would work as what was called the Comet, which was a high dive act. And additionally, he would work as Conway the Clown.
Did he ever hurt himself?
Yep.
Head injury. Serial killer bingo?
Nope.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
So, Conway became Conway the one-legged killer clown.
Oh, duh.
From a high dive accident that he actually had while he was in Detroit. It mangled a lot of his leg, and that portion of his leg had to be completely removed. And instead of taking the prosthesis, he had chosen to make his own wooden leg.
I'm just trying to think of me, like, scrapbooking a leg together one day. Like, that's a cute picture and some nice stickers and shit. It doesn't look real, but it makes me feel better knowing I made it.
Yeah, I mean, he really was. He was really into the fact that he made his own leg. So while his wife was living with the couple, Mary keeps saying how much she misses Conway. And it gets to a level where Sophie offers to pay to get Conway back from Muncie, Indiana. They were both con artists. It seemed as though it was almost some sort of farcical way to force Sophie to feel guilt that she didn't have her person there, and then feel bad enough to pay.
Oh.
It's something that continues on throughout the entire time that they all live together.
So, Sophie and her fiancé,
Will, yes.
Yes, so Sophie and Will, they leave Baltimore and they come and they stay with Mary. And then Mary lays this intentional guilt trip on them.
Yeah. Also at this time, it starts becoming more and more obvious that Sophie and Will are paying for the entirety of their living expenses as well. With Sophie and Will feeling indebted, Sophie obviously much more than Will was.
The Queen of Burlesque and the Duchess of Trickery. She was.
She convinces them to get him back from Muncie. So he eventually comes and lives with them. And everything supposedly is peachy at the time. Everyone's having a blast. Everyone's okay with everything. And then Sophie kind of starts realizing that maybe they're taking some money from her and she's not feeling great about it and they're just spending her money.
And yeah, you're taking fucking money from me.
Right. So Sophie and Will start talking about, and this is openly, it's not just them like behind closed doors where Mary and Conway are just hanging out and like listening to it. It's them talking openly with people they think are their friends. And they're saying, hey, look, Chicago's not really working out for us. We might be going back to Baltimore.
Maybe this was all a mistake.
Yeah, they start talking about this. Will later say that it's like they hated us all at once. As soon as the money started trickling away from the Conways, they started getting really cold to Will and Sophie. And they started being kind of weird around them. So they would actually invite them to lunch. And the Conways would say no.
You said when the money started trickling away from them.
Yeah, so when Sophie started not giving them quite as much money as she had prior.
Okay.
Before Sophie had come to Chicago, she had inherited $35,000. Nowadays, it's about $155,750. Apparently, there was some sort of argument with their landlord, so they had to actually move from the flat they were all staying in to another flat down the street.
All four of them?
All four of them.
Okay.
In that one, it started getting more and more aggressive.
Okay.
And there was quite a few different times where we already talked a little bit about the coldness that they were feeling, but
tensions were rising.
Yeah, so there'd be quite a few times where the Conways would take themselves away and or be openly rude because Sophie and Will weren't paying for everything.
Were they paying rent?
Sophie and Will were paying the rent.
All of it?
All of it.
Okay, that's...
And the Conways kept telling them how poor they were and doing all of the sob stories. And they've chosen this particular profession and were doing just fine before Sophie and Will got there. They continue to try to separate themselves from Sophie and Will. Obviously, Sophie and Will are doing the same thing and preparing themselves to go back to Baltimore. Will, apparently, after he had moved to Chicago, had become kind of a gambler. Which at the time, not really unheard of. He apparently had a system where he had friends that would be at the races that would telephone him and tell him what to bet and or whether or not to pull out his bid or whatever horse before the bookies would get the telegram from the other people that they were associated with at the race. He thought this was the greatest plan. So he was planning on leaving the house in the morning, going and gambling a little bit, leaving from there, coming back, having dinner, and then going out and having drinks with his friends.
Sounds like a nice day.
It was. It truly was a nice day.
Until it ended in murder?
Yep. Until...
Really?
Yep.
Fuck yes!
So...
Murder always starts with a nice day. You know, like maybe like a brunch, a bottle of champagne, some nice like prosciutto and melon.
That sounds really fun. So anyway, so he left for the day. We actually came home about 11-ish. There's a couple articles that said 11:30, some of them said 11:45, and some of them said before midnight. But somewhere after 11, he had come home and he saw that the door was completely locked. He tried to put his key in the keyhole. The keyhole was stuffed so that there was no key that could be inserted.
Oh.
And he couldn't figure out what was happening, so after he was yelling and banging on the door because he knew that the Conways were supposed to be home and that obviously his fiancée was supposed to be home as well, the landlady came down to see what the noise was.
But she's dead, isn't she?
They eventually got all the stuffing out of the keyhole.
How? What, like the world's tiniest tweezers?
It's a keyhole. It's 1912.
Oh, so it's a big keyhole.
Yeah, it's like a skeleton key.
I feel like they should have maybe caulked that keyhole or like cemented it in.
Yeah, but they weren't clearly the smartest of humans, let's be fair. They definitely didn't cover their tracks well. They had gone in and his immediate thought was to go check Sophie's room because he knew she was supposed to be at home. So they look in Sophie's room, there's nothing there. And then they're like, okay, well, let's just check all the rooms. So they went to where the Conways were living at the time. And when they looked in the room, cursory examination said there was nothing there, but then they flipped the light on, and Will saw Sophie's feet sticking out from underneath the bed. So it says that she was strangled and or suffocated, And also, later on, they'll say that he had taken a doorknob, put it in his clown handkerchief, tied it to a shoelace, and beaten her with it.
As you do.
I mean, obviously.